Okay, boys and girls, this is part 2 of our lesson. And so we have a word problem, and it says the distance between two schools on Lehigh Avenue is shown on the map. What is the actual distance between the schools? And so whenever you see a map, you're going to see something that says it's called a scale. And a scale means that 1 inch, actually 1 inch on the picture, so 1 inch from here to here, actually represents in real life 2 miles. Okay, and so we have another inch here, so this would be another 2 miles. So we have 0 inches, 1 inches, 2 inches, and 3 inches. 3 inches. And so what that basically means is that this would be 2 miles, this would be another 2 miles, and this would be another 2 miles. So in total it would be 6 miles. But there's also a way to solve this problem. And we have to figure it out. So we have the ratio of 1 inch, and so my inches are going to go on top, over 2 miles. And I always like to rewrite it so that way it's 1 over 2, and I put my inches here and my miles here. And now it's giving us some information. The image is giving us some information. And I'm going to erase this really quick. And it's giving us 3 inches. So it's telling us 3 inches. So we need to know the actual distance. So it's giving us 3 inches. And if I'm going to have to do this, I'm going to have my equal sign, which I have here. And I'm going to have another fraction ratio here. And so it's saying 3 inches here. So where are my inches? My inches, are they on the top or on the bottom? Well, if we notice, our inches are on top. So I'm going to put the 3 up here, 3 inches. And I have a blank on the bottom. And this is going to be miles. Okay? So we have 1 inch to 3 inches and 2 over, we need to figure out how many miles. So I would go and I would solve this way. I would do 1 times a number equals 3, and we know that number is 3. So it's 1 times 3. And whatever I do on the bottom would be 2 times 3. So 2 times 3 would equal 6. So 3 inches in a picture is really equal to 6 miles total in the real world. And I'm going to go over some more problems with you. Here is another way to solve this problem. I'm going to show you another way. It's called cross multiplication. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to set my same problem up, my ratios that I have here and my ratios that I have there. So I'm going to have 1 over 2 is equal to, and remember, here are my inches, here are my miles, over 3 over a box, a variable. And so this is miles, and this is inches. And remember, I talked about cross multiplication. I would multiply this number by this number, 2 times 3 is equal to, and I would multiply 1 times the box, and so 1 times the box would be 1 times the box. 1 times I don't know. And so then I go and I solve the problem. What's 2 times 3 is 6, and 1 times the box. So it ended up being, and I could reverse it, 1 times a number is equal to 6. Or I could divide 6 divided by 1, which equals 6. So this is basically what I'm doing here, and I would get 6. Now I'm going to go and I'm going to show you some more examples on a separate sheet of paper. And then you are going to go through and solve these on your own. These are proportions. All of these are proportions. You're going to have to figure out an answer. But before we do that, I'm going to show you some examples. So I'm going to show you on a blank sheet of paper. I want you to go get a blank sheet of paper. I want you to write proportions on the top of that blank sheet of paper. So this is proportions on the very blank sheet of paper. And what I want you to do is, you could pause the computer at any time. You can go get your paper. You can go do it. So I'm going to do problem 1. And so problem 1 is 4 over 20 is equal to blank over 30. Now this is a very tricky one because I can't simply just go 20 times a number equals 30. It's not as mental. It's not as easy. I don't know this right off the bat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to cross multiply, which means I'm going to have to multiply 20 times the box. So I would get 20 times a box, which is a variable. It's an unknown. So this is unknown. And is equal to, and then I go the opposite way, 4 times 30. So I'm going to do 4 times 30. Okay? Now what I'm going to do is I simplify it. I'm going to multiply 4 times 30, and 30 times 4 equals 120, is equal to 20 times a box, times a variable. We don't know what the variable is yet. Now, some of us already know the answer, some of us don't. Basically, what this means is that we're going to take this number, 120, and we're going to divide it by what's over here, by 20, and we get 20 goes into 1 0 times, 20 goes into 12 0 times, 20 goes into 120 6 times. So 20 times 6 should be 120, and it is 120. So my variable would be 6. So 6 would go in the box. What does that mean? That means that 6 would go inside this box. And then how do I check my answer? Well, here's how I check my answer. 4 over 20 is equal to 6 over 30. And I cross multiply to check my answer. So I do 4 times 30. What's 4 times 30? 4 times 30 equals 120. And then I multiply across 20 times 6. And 20 times 6 is also 120. So it's equal. It is equal. This is a proportion. Yes, it is a proportion. Okay? It is a proportion. So now let me go on to a word problem really quick. I'm going to do 2 eggs for every 5 bacon. 2 eggs for every 5 bacon. How many eggs? What if we had, I don't know, 60 pieces of bacon? So now we need to figure out, question mark, how many eggs? And some of you are already doing it mentally. You're already figuring it out mentally. Well, we know that this is a ratio, so I'm going to write it down. 2, and I'm going to write eggs over here, over 5 bacon is equal to 60 bacon. Where is my bacon? Is it on top or is it on the bottom? Is my bacon up here or is it down here? Well, we see that the bacon's on the bottom. So I'm going to put 60 bacon and a box for eggs, an unknown. Okay, that's what we're trying to find out. And so I'm going to cross multiply. I'm going to multiply 2 times 60. And 2 times 60 equals, and I can bring it all the way over here, 2 times 60 is equal to 5 times the box. So 5 times the box. So what's 5 times the box? 5 times the box would be 5 times a box. And so now what's 2 times 60? 60 times 2 equals 120. So I'm going to put 120 here. Is equal to 5 times a box. Now, we're not normally used to seeing our multiplication problems this way. We usually see it like this. 5 times a box is equal to 120. What this means is we take this number here, we take this number, and we divide it by this number. And it will give us, the answer will be this box. So I divide it by 5. So 5 goes into 12 2 times, which should be 10. 20, bring down the 0. 5 goes into 20 4 times, so it's 20. So what this means is, if I had 60 pieces of bacon, I would need 24 Sorry, 24. It goes in here. 24 eggs. Now, I want you to go ahead and solve these problems on your own. And remember, instead, you'd have a box, you'd have a box, you'd have a box, and you'd have a box. Some of them are easy. Some of them you can just multiply this way, and divide and multiply or divide, whatever you need to do. And then you could figure out the number on top. Now, I want to look at Leah and Carolina's situation. Leah and Carolina are two partners in a yard sale. Leah makes $3 of profit for every $4 that Carolina makes. So in total, they would make $7. Okay? If their total profit is 105, how much profit does each girl make? This is a multi-step problem. You're going to have to pick one of the persons. So we're going to need to have a blank box up here, and 105 for the total is equal to $7 for the total, because this is the total. If we look back up here, it's total, over, pick one of the girls. Pick either Leah or Carolina. And we're just going to pick Carolina. I don't know, or Leah. Put Leah's 3 here. And for Leah. Then this will tell you how much Leah makes. So it's not as easy to multiply this way and figure out. It's not as mental. So I would have to cross multiply. I'd have to do 7 times a box. And then I would have to do 3 times 105. I want you to try doing these problems. I want you to do 1, 2, 3, and 4. I want you to do 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And then you could stop at the independent practices. We're going to go ahead and you could continue the independent practice if you got these. But once you get to 9, come to Mr. Morales. I'm going to check your answers. And then I'll say go ahead and move on to independent practice or hold off.